Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I'm your host, Garrett King. Okay, today's video is going to be interesting, I think. As you all can tell, it's been a while since I've done a video. For a couple of reasons. One being, obviously, I've been working quite a bit. But the other reason is I've had some rather odd experiences over the past 3-4 weeks. And one in particular, which I'm going to talk about today, is primarily the main reason. It's going to be difficult, I think, for me to kind of get through this because I'm still trying to process everything in my head. But I have a better understanding, I think. It's just formatting it and putting it into words. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I've waited so long to talk about this. And I'm still not even 100% sure that I'm going to do a very good job explaining it, but I'm going to do the very best that I can. And then you guys let me know what you think in the comments. So one of the experiences, and this one's just very short, and I'll talk about this one very quickly. So the other day, I decided to turn on my Oculus Quest, VR headset. I have one. I have both, actually, the 2 and the 3, and I hadn't turned it on in a very long time. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to, check it out, see if there's any new updates, any new, apps, games, whatever, that's out. And so, I have it on and I'm like downloading or, doing all the updates and everything. And so I go over to YouTube just to watch YouTube while, everything is downloading and updating. And I don't really know what possessed me exactly to do it, but I look at the 360 videos on YouTube, and I came across one for like a virtual 360 tour of Egypt. Well, not really Egypt like altogether, but the pyramids. And there's several on there, but there was one in particular. It was a guy just walking, holding his 3D camera, and he's talking and just showing you everything. Yeah, I mean it's a 360 camera, so you can see every direction all around him, and he's just walking. Just right up next to the pyramids and everything. It's a very cool video, especially to see it in 3D because it's. Or, like in 360 degree view, because it's as though you're there. And in the video, he walks by the larger pyramid, and then he's walking towards the middle pyramid. And as he's walking towards it, I just get this overwhelming sensation of awe. And at the same time, as he's getting closer and closer to it, I get this insane feeling of recognition. as though I am seeing something that, like, deep inside, I know that I have seen before, even though I have no recollection, in this life of having ever seen it outside of, photos and, the TV and, whatever. But this feeling that I have is that I'm seeing something that I haven't seen in a very long time. And it was almost like a feeling of nostalgia, like, whoa, I've I've seen this in person or something. I don't know. It's so difficult to convey the actual feeling. But as I'm sitting here just staring at this thing as he's walking towards it, I'm just like, like just in awe. It wasn't, and I do this all the time. I talk about like a thought or, I don't hear voices in my head, but this was my own internal dialogue in my head. And it's like, I literally said, I used to play here. Which was odd, it was like I don't know, like I was seeing something that I had seen as a kid, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And then that internal dialogue, that thought of like, I used to play here, like it was just so odd. And I can tell you that in this life, I have never been to Egypt. I've never seen the pyramids in person, although I would love to. I would absolutely love to go there and see these things up close and personal. But that's like what it was like in this video. It's almost like you're there. You're not. But the sensation that I got was that, I had been here before. And it must have been, I must have been a child or something, because again, it's like I used to play here. It was so odd. It was so odd. And the only thing that I can really, use to explain it is if it was a past life, and I'm making a connection to a time when, in a different lifetime, but when I was a child, possibly in Egypt and used to play there, in this, I don't know. I really don't know, but it was just such an odd occurrence. But it was amazing. And the weird thing too, that I was thinking about this was that, well, I don't know. I'm saying it couldn't, but the feeling that I have is that it wasn't at a time when they were first built, when they were back, back in the days of their magnificent glory. I was still recognizing it as we see it today, sort of in ruins, not the perfect, pristine pyramid that it was when it was first, built. So, it could have been a past life, but one long after, they started to sort of, deteriorate over time or whatever. So I don't know. It was just bizarre. Now, this other experience, this one was profound. And this is what is basically sparked everything that I'm going to talk about today. So I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across this sort of ad for this app. And some of you may have seen it, and some of you may have already downloaded it and tried it yourself. But the guy is talking about, he's like, check out the #1 app that, caused my mom to have a hallucination or something like that. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. Like, what is this? So it's an app basically that you can download, and it's supposed to help you sleep, meditate, relax, explore your mind, kind of put yourself more in a creative state, et cetera, et cetera. And the app is called Illuminate. And trust me, I have no affiliation with this app. I'm not getting any sort of kickback or anything for even talking about it. I'm just telling you my experience with it. So I download the app, and basically what it is it has these different, types of settings. You can like listen to one that's supposed to help you sleep, and like I said, others that are supposed to help open your mind to become more creative, or release anxiety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these are sort of guided meditations in a sense. But what you do is basically when you start whichever one you're listening to, you push the play button, and then it tells you to turn your phone around so that it's facing you and for you to close your eyes. And you hold the phone, just however far. And I've tried it various different ways. I've held it like right up to my face, a little further out, halfway, just trying different, distances. And when it kicks in, what it does is it causes the flashlight on your phone to kick in, and then it starts strobing the light. Okay, flashing. It's just flashing like super fast. And you're seeing this through your eyelids. And it does sort of cause a hallucination, but you are fully aware of what's going on, where you are, what you're doing. You can open your eyes at any moment that you desire. It's not like it puts you in some sort of hypnotic state where you have no control over yourself. So I'm doing this, and I mean, almost from the get-go, I am like seeing, it's like a kaleidoscope of geometric shapes and designs. And I mean, it's so difficult to explain, but the only way that I could possibly try to put it into words, or even visuals, is I would compare it. And I can't really do that 100% because I've never tried what I'm about to say. But just from listening to other people talk who have done DMT, and, they've been on a DMT trip where they've blasted off, as Joe Rogan usually says, you blast off, you start seeing this kaleidoscope and, in symmetry and, geometric shapes and, just all the stuff that people talk about. There was never the connection to the universe that, that Joe talks about, like this feeling that you are connected to everything, and you totally have a firm grasp of your connection to every single thing. There was none of that. It was more of just the visual. Okay. And then at one point, like, I'm suddenly zooming through a tunnel of a kaleidoscope tunnel, if you can imagine it. And it's just like I'm just zooming through like really fast, and then all of a sudden it changes, and then there's more shapes and patterns and visuals. And then suddenly, through these shapes, I'm starting to see like faces, if you will. And that's another reason why I sort of liken it to this idea of being on a DMT trip, is because people report seeing these beings. And a lot of them report seeing the exact same ones, or, if not the exact same one, but very similar ones. And I'm not really seeing them like in great detail. I'm seeing them forming in the shapes, the kaleidoscope shape. And it's so hard to describe this, but like, imagine this kaleidoscope is just changing shape all around you, but you can see a ghosting, if you will, of this entity's face. and then all of a sudden it just meshes in with the rest of the kaleidoscope, and and then it moves on, and then suddenly you're speeding through another tunnel. And I mean, it was the most insane thing to experience in only 10 minutes. Okay. Like, the session was only 10 minutes. And when it stopped and the strobing stopped and everything, I just kept my eyes closed, and I could still see all of this stuff sort of going on. And then it just slowly, it started to dissipate, and I opened my eyes, and, everything around me is just the way it was. But I was like, man, that was intense, like truly intense. So I did it again later that night, and not like directly before I went to bed, but just like a little bit before I went to bed. And I did a slightly longer session. I think I did this one for 15 or 20 minutes. Now, this app, it's free to download, and you can try the first couple of meditations or whatever. But if you want the full experience, it's like, I don't know, $80 a year. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay that. But I did do the trial, the 7-day trial. And so that opened up all of the other, meditations that are on there. And then I just, canceled after the 7-day trial. But it was just a very cool experience. And that second time was even more intense because it lasted longer. And I went to bed shortly after that, and something happened during the night. And I've been noticing that it's been happening almost every single night since then. And it seems to be happening between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. I'll go to bed, I'll fall asleep, and then suddenly around that time, and the reason I know that it's between those hours is that several times I have woken myself up enough to look at the clock and see what time it is. And one time it was, I don't know, I don't remember the exact time, but I know it was after 3 o'clock, but it was before 3:30. So it was like sometime between 3 and 3:30. I want to say it was like around 3:18, 3:19, something like that in the morning. The other time I did it, it was like around 4:45 that I woke up. And then the other time that I woke myself up, it was like around 5:30. So it's always between this 3 and 6 window of time that it's been happening. I mean, it happened last night, but I didn't wake myself up to look at the time. But basically what's happening during this 3-hour window is I'll be asleep, and then all of a sudden it's like my brain kicks on. And even though I'm asleep, I don't even know how to really describe this. I'm processing thoughts or ideas, or I'm receiving thoughts and ideas. I don't know really what's going on. But the first night that I did this, and keep in mind, I haven't done this app, I haven't done these meditations before going to bed. Since then, I only did it that one time, okay? But this has been happening every single night. It's like my brain wakes up without my body waking up. I don't know how to explain it, but again, it's like information is coming to me somehow, or I'm having thoughts, I'm channeling thoughts. I have no idea. How to really put this into words. But the first night, all that I'm about to explain to you is going through my head all at once. And as it's going through my head, it's making the most perfect sense of everything that has been going on with this code. Like everything came together in such perfect harmony that it just made sense. And when I woke up the next morning, I woke up this feeling of just like having that some sort of knowledge, having been given some kind of knowledge that I didn't know what to do with. And I didn't know how to put it into words. I remember calling my brother and trying to explain it to him. And he would come back with a question and I would say, yes, but it's bigger than that. And then he would say something else and I would say, yeah, it is, but it's bigger than that. And I just couldn't quite put what I was trying to say into the perfect words. And that's what I feel like I've been trying to do over these past few weeks is put something together in some kind of format where I could talk about it with you guys. And even though I'm going to talk about it, it's still not 100% going to be exactly as perfect as it was during this moment when this first, was coming to me and going through my head. So there's multiple things going on at once. But the one thing that kept repeating over and over in my head was the only moment that exists is now. Okay? And I actually wrote this whole entire thing out the next day. When I woke up, I wrote this whole entire, strangely, I was able to write this in a way that it makes sense. Okay. And I've got it on my phone here. So, I'm going to read it to you. Okay. So I'm just going to read it to you exactly as I wrote it. It says, the only moment is now. This moment and no other contains the entirety of your existence. The past is gone, irretrievable, unchangeable. Yet when you remember it, that remembrance occurs in the now. It is not the past itself you are experiencing, but a present moment echo of it. Likewise, the future has not happened. It cannot be touched, seen, or interacted with. It exists only as a projection, and that projection, too, occurs in the now, in this moment. You may think you move through time, but in truth, it is time that flows through you, always through the aperture of the present moment. Imagine you get up and walk across the room. The action takes 7 seconds. At the beginning of the journey, you were in one location. By the end, you were in another. From your point of view, you've moved into the future. But consider this. Every footstep, every breath, every second past was experienced only in the now. You never stepped into the future. You stepped forward within the now. The future became the present, and then the present became memory. Yet none of it ever escaped the boundaries of now. Now consider a closed book. Okay, I've got a book here. And I'm just holding this up for reference. Look at the edge. Okay, when I say the edge, I'm talking about this edge right here, this top edge. Let me find my spot again. Okay. Okay, so look at the edge. The tightly pressed pages form a singular surface. That surface is the now, as we typically experience it, compressed, unified, seemingly thin and linear. Our awareness, when confined to everyday consciousness, is like a fingertip tracing that edge. Okay? We move page to page without seeing the content, only sensing a flow from one sliver of experience to the next. Okay, I'm not done, but I want to kind of stop here and explain this. So, as this is going on in my head, and it's talking about the present moment, I'm seeing these circles, okay, with lines connecting them. So there'd be like a circle here, and a line going across connecting it. But then there'd be a circle above it and another circle over here above it. And there'd be lines connecting those. And they're all connected. And it's expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding, not just from left to right, but from forwards to backwards into this ginormous grid of these circles and connecting lines. Okay? And this will hopefully make sense here in just a moment. But what I was understanding in that moment is that what I was seeing or witnessing is what one sees when they ascend. Okay? Ascend to a higher self, a higher presence. Okay. So that's going to tie into this next part. So it says, but when the mind opens, when awareness ascends, we are no longer trapped in that linear edge. Okay. We begin to see into the now. To visualize this, open the book. Suddenly, what once appeared as a thin, compressed strip reveals depth and complexity and continuity. The now is no longer a fleeting line, okay? It is a dimensional plane, okay? Layered with meaning. Yet, even this is only the beginning. Now take one single page, hold it. Remember that when the book was closed, this very page was part of the same edge you called now. But as you examine it, you see that this single moment contains an entire surface of experiences. Okay? The front of the page is the moment unfolding. The back is the consequences of it. The ink on the page is essentially the code. Okay? It's also every choice, every action, every thought, and every feeling you have ever had. It is your life captured in a single breath of time. Each page is happening now, was always happening now. The past pages are not over, they have simply moved behind your point of awareness. The future pages are not ahead, they are already written in possibility, awaiting your hand to turn them. Your consciousness rides the edge, okay? Our consciousness rides the edge, but your spirit can learn to see the entire book. Ascension is not escape from time. It is recognition of time's illusion. To ascend is to see all pages at once. To realize that the book of your life is already whole, already held, already here. And still, the only place you can read it is now. Okay? So yes, that was what was going through my head. And then I got a better or firmer grasp of the 1111 matrix code numbers and what they mean. And what I'm feeling during this whole experience is that I have been focusing too much on what the individual numbers mean rather than what they represent. Okay? And so to show you this, I've put this together. Again, don't think about the numbers necessarily, like what the number is or what the number means, like through gematria, but what it represents. And let me show you something here. So the number 333, in this realization that's going on in my head, represents the creator. Okay? It is it's not the beginning and it's not the end, because those two things simply don't exist in the creator. The creator is limitless in time, in scope, in thought, in reasoning. It has always been there, will always be there. There was never a beginning or an end to it. Okay? It exists outside the realms of those possibilities. Okay? But this creator, that's neither male nor female, it has no gender. It sparks a thought. Okay? So we have 333, that represents the creator. It sparks the thought, okay, which becomes this square. And these are the reasons I'm using these shapes, okay? So the creator is a triangle because 3, 3, 3. It's 3 points. It represents a triangle, okay? 11, 11. It's 4 numbers, 4 points. It represents a square. So the creator has a thought, okay? And that thought sparks creation, okay? Represented by 3, 6, 9, 9, 6, 3, okay? That's the number you get when you take 333 times 11, 11. So creator times thought sparks creation, okay? And it's in this hexagon shape because of the numbers. Again, it's not necessarily what the numbers are, it's what they represent. And think back to what Nikola Tesla said. If you only understood the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, you would hold a key to what? The universe. Creation. Now, what happens? What have we seen with the 1111 matrix code numbers? Okay, so 333 times 1111 gives us 369963. What happens? We feed 1111 back into it. We feed the thought back into the creation, and what happens? It creates a new thought, okay, or a new creation, a new dimension, a new universe. All these words are interchangeable because they all mean the same thing. They're all creating a moment of now. Okay? So we feed 1111 back into 369963. That creates the first number, 371074, as we see right here. That feeds back in, and then what happens? What happens? What do we do with those numbers? Okay, so we take that first number and then we add 369963 to it, and then to every new number that we get. Remember? So that number feeds back into this, and then boom, it generates what? It generates a new number, a new creation, a new universe, a new dimension, a new now. And then what happens? It feeds back in, creates another one, and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. As we've seen, I've taken these mathematical calculations all the way up into the 100 billions. It just continues. And it's not about the numbers themselves necessarily, it's what it represents. That every thought that we have sparks a new reality, a new creation. How many times have we heard your thoughts create your reality? Well, very possibly, but it doesn't always mean that it's creating your reality now. They should change the phrase to your thoughts create your realities, more than one, because there is an infinite number of realities. And the thing is, they're all layered on top of one another, and they're all happening now. Okay? Regardless if it's in the past, if it's in the future, has yet to even happen. It is all happening in this moment, right now. Now, I want to show you guys something here. So I don't have it printed out here or fleshed out here, I guess I should say. But in between this first number, 371074, and the next number, 741037, there are 36 numbers in between that will do the same thing that those two numbers do. And what do those two numbers do? We've talked about this 100 times, maybe even 1,000. When you take the last four digits and you add the remaining numbers, what does it do? It comes back to 1111 every single time. And what is 1111? It is the thought, the first thought. Okay. But there's 36 numbers in between these numbers that will do the exact same thing. And what I mean by that is if we took 371074, okay, we know how the beginning numbers go up by 37 and the last four digits are going down by 37, okay? But I had this thought of, what if the numbers are going up and down simply by the number 1? Okay, so to demonstrate this, so let's say that 371074, let's say that 37 is going down and the last four digits are going up. So 37 would become 36 and 1074 would become 1075. Now simply take here 1075 and add 36 to it. And you have 1111. Okay? So every number will do that. Okay? In between these individual numbers, if you simply change the beginning and end by the number 1, they will all do the same thing. Each one of those individual numbers in between these numbers, it's talking about the space between the spaces. Okay? So it's like each one of these pages, if you would, or if you will, like the first page is 371074, the next page is 741037, and so on. But when you open the book, you see everything else that's happening in between, like these numbers. Again, it's not the numbers themselves, it's what it's representing, the spaces in between. We can't see those spaces because we are riding the edge of the book, okay? We're on this linear path, just moving through life, one day at a time, never realizing that all around us, happening in this very moment, are an infinite number of versions of us doing God knows what. Okay? Let's say that you have a thought, okay? Your thought is you wake up in the morning and you're sitting here and you're waking up and you're trying to decide, am I going to have pancakes with sausage or am I going to have bacon, eggs, and toast? Okay? You've already now just created two separate realities. All right. One where you are having pancakes with sausage, and the other one where you're having eggs, bacon, and toast. Which one that you go to, who knows? But if you go to the one with the bacon, or sorry, the pancakes and the sausage, there's still another reality. There's a split that's happened. And there's another reality going on right beside you where you're actually having the eggs, toast, and bacon. All right. So yes, every thought that you have creates your, not just reality, not just your present reality, your realities. Billions. I mean, there's not even a word to describe the number because it's infinite. There's infinite possibilities. Infinite. And again, it's what the numbers are representing. I think this has been the largest portion of this code that I've been trying to figure out. And I want to show you something. So I walked this number back, 371074. I walked it backwards, okay? Simply taking the first two digits and the last four and adjusting them by one so that every single number comes back to 1111. And look what number right here, if I can zoom in on this, that it comes back to, okay? 11110. And then what happens? You take the last four, add the remaining, you have 1111. But there's something called cymatics, okay? And when I talk about these numbers, I talk about these different realities, these different dimensions, these different universes. They are essentially different frequencies as well, okay? So I downloaded this program, and let me move this over here so I can show you this. And basically what this program does, it's called Cymatics Studio Pro. And I'm sure many of you have seen this where they have taken sand or even water, salt, maybe even flour, I can't remember. They put it on a surface and they like generate this frequency so that sand starts moving and it starts to form what? Sort of these kaleidoscope designs. Okay? And check this out. So I put in the number 1111. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is when you put in 1111, what's the first thing it does? It puts in 1111.0. Okay? There is no just 1111. It's 1111.0. And look at this number right here. It's 1111.0. Now, look at what's happening here on the screen. You're seeing this kaleidoscope effect, this frequency. This is the frequency of 1111. And look what happens right here at the end. You start seeing all these things that look like circles with lines attached to them. This is exactly what I was seeing in my head. Look at this right here. And I took a screenshot of it just so that it's right here, just so you could see what I'm talking about. There's a circle here, and a circle here, and here, and here, and here, and so on. And if you begin to look, you can see what looks like these lines, diagonal lines, and vertical lines, and horizontal lines connecting them all throughout. These are the pathways to the different versions, the different realities, the different dimensions of us that make up the now. I mean, imagine my shock when I'm seeing this in my head, okay? All these patterns going on, all these thoughts about these numbers and all this stuff, and I'm seeing this grid work. And then I just happen to come across this program, put in the number 1111, and it changes Like it literally changes in the program. So just to show you what I'm talking about, if I come over here and I put in 52, it's always going to put 52.0. Okay, so this would be 52.0. This is the frequency of 52.0. Okay, you're seeing the designs, the geometric kaleidoscope shape of that frequency. And if I put in 1111, boom, it's 1111.0. We are seeing that frequency. And this is exactly what I was seeing in my head. Okay? Now, something else that was going on, and I'm seeing this in my head, is something called a Merkaba. Okay? Now, I've talked about this in my book that I wrote. So let me pull that up. I said, before we wrap this chapter up, and this is, I don't remember what chapter this is in my book, but basically I'm talking about the horoscope, the zodiac wheel. I've shown this in videos in the past, but I'm talking about it in the book, and I'm talking about another shape that forms. We see the Star of David or the Star of Creation, but there's another shape right there, and it's called the Merkaba. Okay, and I said, before we wrap this chapter up, let's revisit the zodiac wheel I showed you a moment ago, as there is another symbol hiding right in plain sight. The symbol I am referring to is the Merkaba, and there's two different ways you can spell it. The word Merkaba has both Hebrew and Egyptian origins. In Hebrew, the word stands for chariot. Okay? In this context, the Merkaba is a chariot that helps, I can't even talk. In this context, the Merkaba is a chariot that help us meet and recognize the various cosmic energies that govern our world. In the Egyptian language, the word is broken down into three parts. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Mer, the first part, means light. Ka, Ka, means spirit. I think I've talked about this, like, when Egyptians would look at their reflection, like, in water or whatever, and they would look at their eyes and they would see the reflection of themselves in their own eye, they took that like that was their spirit. That was the inner them. And then Ba, okay, B-A, which means body. So light, spirit, body. We are light, spirit, bodies. We are light and spirit inside of a body. The Merkaba is literally formed from two triangles, one pointing up and the other pointing down, and is identical to the Star of David when you look at it in this shape, like right here. You can see the Star of David. These two triangles also represent the heavens above and the earth below, as above, so below. In the human body, the Merkaba comprises the first 8 cells formed after fertilization. These cells are found at the root chakra of the body, which is at the body's center as well as the center of the Merkaba. When described in this way, it demonstrates our spiritual bodies becoming physical at our moment of conception. Now listen to this part. Let me start this over. When described in this way, it demonstrates our spiritual bodies becoming physical at our moment of conception, and our physical bodies becoming spiritual at our time of death, wherein the very moment of our beginning marks the exact moment of the start of our end. And the very moment of our end marks the exact moment of our new beginning. Okay, think about that. It simply means there is no death in the sense of what happens when we die. Okay? This vehicle, this body, sure, it will deteriorate, but you yourself, your mind, your spirit, it doesn't die. It moves on. When we learn to ascend, not through death, but in our present, like this present form, if we can learn to ascend, which is what which is what the Jesus figure is literally telling us in the Bible, okay? Is literally telling us, expand your mind, learn, gain the knowledge. The knowledge. That's what happened to Adam and Eve. What happened? They ate from the tree they gained this knowledge. They gained this fruit of knowledge. And they suddenly knew good and evil. They knew everything. They knew the ins and outs of every decision they would ever make. Now, something else that was going on through my head talking about this Merkaba is that the ancients found a way to ascend and travel this spiritual realm through this vehicle. This Merkaba is basically an ascension vehicle, okay? They could travel through time and space to any moment they wanted to go. But in order to do this, they had to, and that's why, get this is why every single number comes back to 1111. They had to take, in order to do this, you have to take every moment that ever exists. And I know how this sounds. It's almost like you can't even comprehend it. But you have to take every moment that exists and collapse them down into a single moment. This 1111, okay? That's what all these numbers do. They collapse back to that single number of 1111. It creates like a pathway where you can step out of the present moment, out of the now, and view all of existence. It's overwhelming when you think about it, because we can think it, but we can't conceive. Like, I can't even begin to conceive what that would be like to see every choice that I ever made and every choice that I didn't make in that moment, but yet it became a separate moment where I did make that choice. So yes, you were seeing every choice you ever made and didn't make because you thought it, you created it, it exists. This whole entire time, I've been trying to find what the deeper meaning of these numbers are and what it represents. And then suddenly this happens, and it's just like it just woke something up inside of me where it now suddenly feels like and seems like it's making perfect sense. You let me know your thoughts on this. But one of the other things that was going through my head concerning this Merkaba was that, and I know how odd and crazy this is going to sound, but they, and when I say they, I don't know whether it's the ancients or our present day government, who or what, but they have found a way to materialize this Merkaba into a craft, if you will. And this is what some, not all, but this is what some of the UAPs that people are seeing, these balls of light, are these ascension vehicles. And this is the way that you can travel through space. You can travel through time because you can go anywhere to any moment because it's all happening now. It's all layered on top of itself. Take infinity. And there's not even a way to really describe this, but what I guess the only way I can do it is to say, take infinity and compress it down to a single line because it's all happening right now. Yeah. Now, let me show you something else here very quickly before I go. So I talked about this being the creator has the thought becomes the creation. Now, look at this, folks. What do we see right here? Well, we see the Star of David, the star of creation. Okay, it's sitting right there. It's also a Merkaba when you're looking at it from the top down. And if we were to look at a Merkaba in 3D, it would look like this. Okay? Two triangles intersecting up and down. You have as above, so below. If we're going to put it into gender, which none of this has any gender whatsoever, but you would have the male and the female shape as well. Okay, but again, this is outside of gender even. There is no gender to creation. And if we simply look at this from the top down, and we just simply look at the outer edge, you are seeing the Star of David, the star of creation. But, move this back over here. But we're also seeing something else right here. Remember this symbol? This is the symbol that I got just from the first two numbers. Remember? It was 371074, and then if we took and went down the other side, so 371074, and how this matches up perfectly to the sunstone in Mexico. Remember that shape? And if we lay it in here, we can simply see how it crosses each point in the star of creation. It's insane, folks. And when I'm saying this, when I'm describing this the way that I am, again, I'm not doing it the justice that it deserves. I can only give it the justice that I'm able to use words, because there simply is no words to fully grasp what I'm trying to tell you here. It's insane. It's insane. But yet, at the same time, it makes sense. It makes sense. And if we could learn to harness this power that clearly we all have, we could make changes in our lives. We could cross over or pull in one of those thoughts and ideas from another timeline and get it to line up perfectly with ours so that we start following that path. And every ounce of my being is telling me that it's possible. It's possible. We just have to, I don't know how, but we have to somehow train ourselves, learn this knowledge, and somehow find a way to execute the knowledge, you know, make it run like a program so that we can make these things work. And if they've already found a way to materialize this Merkaba, and like I said, whether it was the ancients that have done it or our government has somehow found a way, possibly they found a way by finding one of these ascension crafts that crashed, who knows, some sort of retrieval, and then back engineered it and built a new one. Then what if this is accurate, then they already have the ability to travel from any single one of these dimensions through time and space, forwards, backwards. It's incredible. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Like I said at the very beginning, there's no way that I'm going to do this the justice that it deserves. And it's just, I can only describe it in the way that I've described it. But it's bigger than this. It's bigger than this. So much bigger than this. Okay, so I'm going to leave this with you guys. Again, let me know your thoughts. Tell me I'm crazy. But it just feels like, again, like something has woken up within me. And now it's like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? Okay. All right, that's going to be it for now. Again, sorry it took so long to get a video out, but this is what I've been dealing with. This is what's been going through my head and trying to formulate it into an idea that I can present to you guys. It's been difficult. And again, I still don't know that I've done it any justice whatsoever. So, you know, if it makes sense to you guys, I hope it does. Let me know. If not, I don't know if I can make it any clearer. But if something comes to me that helps explain it, then I'll bring it up and talk about it. But I feel like this is the best that I can do at this moment. Yeah. So, okay, that's it for now. Until next time, I hope you all take care, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.